Hey there, it's Steven here yet again on the YouTube channel with another guest. As you folks know, I never introduce guests, they introduce themselves. So if you go ahead, tell us your name, your company, and what you do, we'll get started.
Absolutely. My name's Jeff Ballif, and I'm the owner of Graybird Insurance Services. I'm an independent Medicare broker, and I focus on education because I want to help people understand Medicare before they make a big decision of which plan to go with.
So you said you're a broker, so like you own your own brokerage.
Correct. Yep. I'm an independent broker, so I don't work for anybody. I am contracted with a lot of different insurance companies, so I can really help people to look at all of their options.
Yeah, it's funny. I mention this to people all the time, just that there's no point in going to someone who is not an independent broker, like going to just your Allstate or State Farm really works
Right.
against you. I was with Allstate for years, and I'll take any
Uh-huh.
opportunity I can to slam them. And I was with Allstate for 16 years.
Wow.
And just, the rates kept going up, but also just the
Mhm.
customer service. You don't have the local broker owner anymore. They're all just these
Right.
junky little franchises, and the middle management has been taken out of that company. And I'll tell you, when I left and went to an independent broker, I literally saved 43% on my premium for car
Wow.
and just
That's pretty good.
much better service too. It was really a great decision. So I
Uh,
imagine that is probably beneficial in the Medicare world as well.
yeah, absolutely. Some of the benefits you get from working with a local broker is number one, we're local. I personally do a lot of house calls. I do have offices I can meet folks, but a lot of people prefer to meet in their homes, and I'm okay with that. What you're getting is really a full picture of all of the different options out there. I don't come in saying, hey, I only sell for this company, so you've got to go with them. We come in and do a needs analysis. We'll say, what prescriptions do you take? What doctors, what hospitals do you like to use? And let's find a plan that matches those needs. We've got several to choose from, so let's narrow it down to which one best serves your needs.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who have constant questions of Medicare. It changes a lot. There's
Hmm.
different plans. And
Yep.
one of the things I've seen people struggle with is if they're on the healthcare marketplace, what some people would
Uh-huh.
call Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, whatever. It's all got all these names.
Right.
Switching from maybe that to an independent broker and switching over to Medicare, that there seems to be a lot of confusion in that. And maybe even the way I'm
Yeah.
phrasing this question sounds confusing, but you probably know what I'm talking about and can elaborate on it.
Yeah, I think you're probably talking about just enrolling and getting set up with Medicare for the first time.
Yeah.
That process, there's a lot of red tape, and it's really not a difficult process other than you just need to know what to do. And a lot of people struggle with what are my steps. I always will do everything I can to help them enroll for the first time. I'll educate them on why you want to enroll. When you're first able to enroll, you don't want to wait because you may be exposed to financial penalties. So we'll talk about penalties, how to avoid them, talk about your timeline when you can enroll, when you should enroll, and whether or not you need to even take Part B of Medicare. Some people don't need Part B right away, other people do. It just depends on your situation.
Tell us, what do you think are some of the pitfalls that the general public falls into with Medicare?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot going against people these days. We've got the rise of the telesales Medicare insurance broker, which in itself is nothing new. That's been happening for a while, but in the last couple of years, there's been more and more call centers popping up and a lot of complaints piling up with different government agencies. So you've got these telebrokers, which they're not local usually, so they don't have the same local knowledge that a local broker does. Another thing you've got going against you is just the massive amount of red tape around Medicare and knowing how to navigate that. I won't say that Medicare doesn't do a good job. I think that they do provide information and educational resources, but it's hard for people to know what's official from Medicare because a lot of these ads out there, they look like they're from Medicare or from Social Security. So they can be very tricky. So there's misinformation out there. There's unfortunately you're going to find bad actors who are just out there to make a quick buck. I find a lot of advantages for my clients working with me being local.
Yeah, I think one of the things in terms of that you're talking about is a lot of customer service too, which is
Absolutely.
across just American business, it really has suffered.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's not just the senior population, but even like millennials and Gen Z are starting to push back against technology. More and more
Right.
people are wanting to meet in person. They're wanting to touch physical paper. They're wanting to
Mhm.
someone local, which is, I think, pretty astounding that you actually are having that pushback because the
Right.
technology that we've been promised for 20 years now, people think, well,
Yeah.
oh, all brand new. No, all the stuff we're dealing with, Skype was around before this. None of this is new, and
Right.
that's why I laugh about AI. It's just a computer program. It's not gonna maybe in
Yeah.
100 years we'll have the Terminator, but it's not now. In terms of customer service, are your clients working primarily with you, or do you have a team, an assistant? How does that work for your business?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I do use a lot of AI, but not for anything to do with customer interactions. Anytime a customer or potential client is reaching out, they're getting to me directly. I have a brokerage, Graybird Insurance Services, but really it's just me and my wife helps me out behind the scenes. So my clients get a personal touch. And like I said, we do the house calls, which a lot of people appreciate. I think AI, there's a lot of value in what it can do for you in terms of marketing and blogging or vlogging, but I just don't think it's near where it needs to be to allow your customers to just be exposed to that and not have that personal connection.
Yeah. Would you say is your whole business Medicare, or is it a primary part of your business? How's that structured with your insurance brokerage?
So I made the decision about 12 years ago when I started to solely focus on Medicare and some of the ancillary products that are somewhat related to Medicare. But that's really my focus. That's what I like to specialize in is helping people get enrolled, find the right plan. And not only that, servicing my clients. I'm not the kind of broker who signs you up and you never hear from me again.
No,
You
that's
know, I
insurance brokers.
It's pretty typical, unfortunately, in today's world. People just churn and burn, they call it. They sign up, make their commission, and that's probably the last you'll see of them. I actually meet with all my clients individually, sometimes on the phone, sometimes in person, every year at the end of the year to make sure their plan is still up to snuff for the following year.
Yeah. When you mentioned the churn and burn, it makes me wonder because I've seen it, and maybe it's just a marketing tactic, but I question it. I sometimes have gone to like Smith's or Walmart.
Mhm.
There's like someone sitting there, like
Oh
enrollment.
yeah,
What is that about? Is it a scam? What is it? Or is it just like
yeah, yeah.
ad
That's a
marketing?
good question.
'Cause it's just a weird to me, it's a weird way to market Medicare, but maybe it really works.
Right.
And I'm really curious because I imagine people see this all the time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of my local grocery stores, your Smiths, your Lee's, I mean, a lot of them you'll see people during that time of year selling Medicare. They are legal. You know, these big companies like Walmart, they brought it in house and do their own now. Some companies like Smiths, they'll contract with agents to man that table and tell people about Medicare. I think they can be very effective. It depends on the person who's at the booth. For me, it's just not something that I excel at, but I've worked with brokers who do very well connecting with people at the grocery store, believe it or not. Rule of thumb, if they're at a big company, an established company like Smith's or Walmart, those guys aren't messing around with any shady or scams, any kind of brokers like that.
Yeah, you're primarily doing Medicare. See, that's one of the things that I've told people before is
Mhm.
and it's not just insurance, just you really do have to work with specialists,
Yeah,
and there's too many people who really do too many things. It's even in my
I
pro
agree.
there's things I just won't do. I
Yeah.
don't do property management. I don't work up in Cache County, things like that. I just don't.
Mhm. I think you're right about working with specialists. Almost any service I need, real estate, especially financial planning, it's worth it to go to a professional who specializes in that because they're going to know a lot more than just your general practitioner who does 10 other things.
Yeah. Now you said your wife helps you behind the scenes. Is she also an
Yeah,
insurance agent?
she is. Yep. She's been licensed for about 5 years now. She's not as involved as she was at one point, but a few of my clients know her and they have a good relationship. So she talks to my clients. And it's great to work with your spouse as long as you don't overdo it.
Yeah, my wife helps me some back end stuff, but she's not an
Okay.
agent broker. The stuff she does doesn't require a license. We are similar to that. I've had a couple assistants in the past, but the employee market is really difficult. That's a separate
It
conversation.
is.
Before we let you go, I was curious if you had anything else you wanted to share with my audience about your business and yourself.
Sure. I think probably what the message I try to get out there the most is I'm not out there to replace your insurance plan. If you consult with me, I want to make sure you have the best plan for you. And if I meet and we go over your needs and you already have a plan that's very fitting, I'm not the kind of broker who's going to say you still need to change to one of my plans. I have not a lot, but I have a handful of clients who I'm not even the agent of record for their insurance policies, but I've connected with them and have a good relationship with them. And I'll still review their plans. And every now and then I get to switch one of them. But my big message is I'm not a high pressure sales guy. I'm not coming in there shoving something down your throat. I come in, I just be genuine, be myself, because people can see that. And, I do my best to earn your trust and give you my best recommendations.
Awesome. How can people best contact you and where can we find you online?
We're on all the social media platforms under Graybird Insurance Services. You can call or text. You'll get an answer 24/7 at this number. It's 801-997-6650. So 801-997-6650. Call or text.
And what was your website address?
I'm sorry, it's graybirdinsurance.com. And that's gray spelled Gray. And I'm also happy to meet you. I have an office downtown Salt Lake on about 3rd and 3rd, or I'm happy to do house calls.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming here. Of course, folks, and information on how to contact him will be in the description box below. Please feel free to share and subscribe. If you do have any questions, please reach out directly because I am not the insurance professional or pro. But anyways, thanks so much for coming on the channel and we'll
Of
see
course,
you
thank you.